Hello and welcome to Northwest Knitting. My name is Kathy and this is my knitting podcast where I like to talk to you about what I'm making, the fibers I'm using, and my journey to make a more sustainable wardrobe for myself. I live in Eugene, Oregon, in the middle of the Willamette Valley. If you are new here, welcome. I hope you find something that is useful for you. And if you're returning, thank you so much. I really appreciate your part of this community. It's really nice and I love your comments. So don't hold back on the comments. I'll start with talking about what I'm wearing, which is my finished object, and two projects I'm working on, and finish up at the end with I have two books I can talk about. If you you might have seen my Barbie podcast. I talked about imagined Barbie going to Rhinebeck, and that was really fun to do. And now I've seen Oppenheimer, so I have completely Barbieheimered this summer. Got plenty of popcorn with nutritional yeast at our movie place downtown. It's really fun. Okay, so what I am wearing is the Salty Air Tee by Samantha Guerin, and I knit this in BC Garn Summer in Kashmir. It's got certified organic, and it says machine wash, which I probably won't do unless it really stretches. It is 90% cotton and 10% cashmere, and I think the cashmere gives it a nicer feel, much easier on the hands to knit with. Although you're aware that this is cotton, but it definitely is easier than 100% cotton, I thought. And GOTS, just to remind you, is the highest ecological and ethical standard for making fiber. So I was really happy to see that. I got this at Starlight Knitting Society in Portland last summer, and it's been sitting there for a while, and I was really happy to use almost all of it up. So that was really fun. So let me show you. Quite a few people are making this, I think, because it's a pretty relatively quick, considering you're using fingering weight yarn. It has a very nice, airy design here. And I was telling you last time that my modification was to, I did 1, 2, 3, 4 of these little repeats here. And the pattern calls for 6. Otherwise, I don't think, beautiful, fun little pattern. I had a little bit of trouble with the yarn overs, but that was pretty much it. And I actually, when I'm picking for my size, it remained pretty loose here, so I did not have to change much. I don't think I added any extra stitches, and it still gives me plenty of room around here and fits nicely here. So, I'm pretty sure I used the third size. Yep, size 3. So it worked out great. A really nice pattern. I could see why so many people are making it. I don't know if I have too much to say. I suppose I could have gone down a size. Because you could see it's loose and airy, but it doesn't feel excessively so. I don't feel like I have a lot of extra fabric in the back. So I'm pretty happy with my size 3. I really can't see that I'd want it any tighter, but I certainly could have, and some people are making it with a lot less positive ease than I chose to. So anyway, she has quite a few patterns. Another one she has that I mentioned last time, I think it's called Pampas. And that one might be a little bit of a simpler lace pattern, but cut the same. So that is something to think about. Anyway, I'm trying to think, is there anything else I could tell you? As I'm doing this, I was craving bright colors, and so as I'm getting into the stockinette, I'm kind of feeling like I'm slogging along. But the color fits a need in my wardrobe. I really don't. I have an awful lot of things that just need a plain, solid top to go with them, and so this really fits the bill and goes with quite a few of my skirts. And I have a pair of pants that are a woven fabric but look very marled. You know, it has a lot of white and navy in it, and I thought that would go with a lot of things, but because of the marling, a lot of things that would go with navy don't go with those pants. So this goes beautifully. So that's really nice. I have a new cup I got when I was at Oregon Country Fair. And this is done by a woman named Amanda who owns, her business name is YogaGoat. She's on Etsy, and I'll put her name in the show notes. Although I just checked and she didn't have anything going right now. But you can see she kind of, it's carved out. I don't know if you could see the depth of it. She has a cute little thumb rest here, and in the bottom of the cup is a nice spiral. So it's just very sweet, and I love the colors of it. Just so good. I have tea with ice in it because I can tell it's going to warm up here. So I think that's pretty much that. I knit this on size 4 needles, which seems to be the size I need more of. I'm always juggling around with my size 4 needles, but I use my Chiagos for it. And then I'm pretty sure I went down to the size 2s for the ribbing, and I did a twisted rib on the bottom, which I believe is a change from what's recommended. So anyway, that is that story, and I'm pretty darn happy with it. But after I finished working on fingering weight yarn in navy with smallish needles, I just needed to do something completely different. And I went to my yarn store, Cozy, which is it's our only one in town, and I'm so glad they're there. It's a beautiful little store, and I hadn't seen one of my favorite yarns I talked about all last year, the Queensland United half wool, half cotton, and I thought she didn't carry it anymore, but there I was. I had no reason to be in that store in particular. I just wanted to see what was going on. And happened to see that down on a lower shelf she had this yarn, and that she had quite a bit of this color, which is Kingfisher. And let's add a little, yeah, Kingfisher. And I was just craving, and I was like, oh, as if I had didn't have this yarn. I actually have a bucket of leftovers of this yarn because I've knit with it so much, but not enough to knit a solid sweater out of. So I'm trying to think of what I can do. It's going to have to be color work, I think, because I have so many colors. Most of them I think would go together. But anyway, there I see this color. So here I am on, and you can recognize this, no doubt. This is my third ranunculus. And I've already done the sleeves because I was having a hard time deciding how long it should be. So it is super loose. When I've done ranunculus before, I've knit them on my last one was on size 9s, and I knit that in the Barocco alpaca, which is more of a DK worsted weight. And the one before that was a summer yarn, and I did either 9s or 8s for that one, and then adjusted the size. But this one I knit on, I'm knitting on 10.5s. So it is super loose. I'm knitting it, the Queensland United, I think, is called a sport weight, but I consider it, I've knit it quite a bit for fingering weight projects, and I'm holding it double. So I'm not sure if it's going to solve be really a good summer edition. I don't know if on a day like today I could wear it. It is half cotton, but it's short sleeved, and I'm sure I will get to wear it a bunch. So anyway, what do you think of the color after my very blue, this navy blue followed by Kingfisher? So fun. It's just knitting up so quickly. It would be even faster, except I tried something silly. So I'll tell you about it in case you're ever tempted to do it, and you can think again. Okay, now this is sticking up and making me nervous. There we go. I tried to ladder down to take out an increase. Now, all of you just think for a minute. If you aren't immediately realizing that was idiotic, you will after a second. And I think I was watching television. I've been, Dennis has been gone a lot, and when he's been gone, I've been watching old episodes of Downton Abbey, and I think I was really involved in something, some downstairs problem. And I just thought, oh, I'll just ladder down and fix that. Well, there were two problems with it. One is you've got that extra fabric you've just created with that increase. And then the other thing was, if I kept going all the way to fix it, it was going to take it beyond where I separated from sleeves. And let me tell you, I was not going to start that far back. So anyway, I ended up laddering it down, going, uh-oh, and decided, no, I'm not going to do it. So I just started. Fortunately, I didn't take it all the way, and I just started knitting again, and I am going to have to do a bunch of mending in the back to fix it and deal with this extra bit of fabric. So very foolish. And if this were something that I hadn't just totally impulsively cast on, I probably would be pulling it out and so forth. But this is, I'm considering this a super quick knit, and I'm just not going to do that. So I'll be trying to tidily mend the back, and I bet I can fix it so nobody will see. But wow, is that foolish. I don't, usually I have a deal with myself that if I'm thinking about ripping out, I sleep on it before I go too crazy. But I didn't do that this time. I just like, tink, tink, tink. Oh, well. Anyway, I'm having an awful lot of fun with it, and I think it's going to be finished pretty soon. I think I'm going to make it a little bit cropped, because I'm imagining wearing it with some skirts, and anyway, I don't think it's going to be very long. So anyway, lots of fun. These are, I could just cast on another one. Sometimes I have to just say, okay, we're not going to just do a ranunculus, but and just to remind you about this yarn, you can see it's really, I mean, it's half wool, but you really are aware of the cotton in here. But it's very good at showing all the, this one has shown the wonderful textured yoke a lot better than the other two versions I did, even though I do like them a lot. And the other thing, I mention this every time, and I hate to be saying it over and over again, but this is $8, and it's like 250 yards. And what can you say? That is awesome. So this is like a $32 sweater. Not that I usually think of it that way. I think of my knitting as sort of a different category. It's sort of like combination hobby and clothes. So I think spending money on some good yarn is absolutely worth it, and I'm not always looking for the least expensive alternative, but that yarn is a really good example of how you can get very environmentally conscious yarn for a very reasonable amount. So if you're ever looking for something where you don't want to spend too much money, this would also be really good for knitting for children. And I haven't done that yet, but maybe that's what I'll do with all my striped, with all my colors that I have, and maybe do something striped or something like that. So, speaking of children, I'm trying to think, it was about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I decided I wanted to get the Making Memories book by Claudia Quintanilla, and this was published by Lina Publishing. It's called Making Memories, Timeless Knits for Children, and that's the front cover. And at the same time, I ordered some yarn that I thought would be good for working for the babies. So I got 3 colors, 3 solid colors right here. These are 3 different, these are intended for 3 different sweaters, but then I saw them together and I thought, those would be really great in a little colorwork sweater. But this is Sandnes Garn. I should tell you the color. So this is Blue Heather. This is Ochre. And this is for a baby who, on her mother on the, what do you call it when you can go online and see what they want to buy? Oh, I forget. Anyway, she has announced that marigold is the baby's signature color. So my daughter helped me pick out this for the baby. This is her best friend who's having the baby. So this is ochre, and this is copper. So this one's for my granddaughter June. This is for Ellie. This is for the baby Marigold, that's not her name, but that's her color. So anyway, I picked the Sandnes Garn Smart. It's super wash, and it's DK weight. I picked it. I've made it. I've used that before for a petite knit Ellen's coming home outfit. I did a sweater and pants for baby June, and my daughter liked it. I liked working with it. My daughter says it washes up nicely, and I did that in brown. And then also I did a hat, a little bonnet for her, and I'm not sure what color this is. It does have a little bit of a pink cast to it, depending on the light. So I have a little of this left also. Anyway, a couple things. I ordered the yarn from Wool & Company. So I'm getting emails from Wool and Honey, and that's a really nice company. But Wool & Company had free shipping. And I had actually tried ordering from another place that had the Sandnes Garn Smart, and the shipping turned out to be more than several skeins of the yarn. So shipping has gone up. It's just gone up everywhere, and I just couldn't resist the free shipping. So, and it came very promptly. So I'll have the link in the show notes. So I was really debating. I have quite a bit of a yarn that has cotton and acrylic in it. And I love that yarn, very soft and sweet yarn, but I'm trying to avoid acrylic for the baby. So I'm not sure. I'm not going to completely avoid it, but when I was looking for these babies, I thought I would look elsewhere. And I listened to a podcast called I Thought I Knew How. And so I've listened to quite a few of those recently. It's an audio podcast, and she had an episode on acrylic yarn, and after listening to that, I thought I would like to perhaps try to avoid acrylic as much as possible. So I'm thinking for babies that I'd like to stick to wool or cotton, and that I'd rather deal with the superwash. I think the superwash, just on a rating scale, I would go lightly processed wool. But if I'm going to use superwash, superwash would be next, and then the synthetics would be way, way low, probably not to be used by me very often, except to use up what I have in there. So anyway, I did go on the Sandnes Garn website just to see if they say anything and about their yarn. And it's really hard sometimes when you're looking at the more commercial brands to see, to find out about them, to find out where they come from even. A lot of times things have labels that make it sound like they're from one country, but they're really from another, and all that. But the one thing they said is that creating transparency for them is still under development. They use about 30% of their yarn is from Norwegian wool, and they know where that's from, but they still import from Peru, Uruguay, South Africa, and India, and they don't know everything about that. Their production is 100% under their control, so they know that their employees are treated well and so forth. They said, and here's a quote from them that I thought was interesting. It is very difficult to document a fully traceable chain of supply. They said that they used the Hirose superwash method, so they put it through a chlorination process to break down the shells covering the fiber, and then cover with a fine resin. But the method does not implicate microplastics, and washing it should not create microplastics in your wash. And I've actually heard from another very reliable source, Clara Parks, that saying that is true of the Hirose method. So Hirose isn't maybe the most ecological method, but it seems not terrible. So the yarn's really nice, and feels good on the hand, feels woolly, so that's why I picked it. Anyway, so I got the book and had a lot of fun thinking about what I'd like to make. So I thought, if you're interested, I would show you some of the patterns in here that I'm most interested in. Some are very simple and have embroidery. Some have quite a lot of texture, and there are 2 colorwork sweaters. There's also a pair of socks, some mitts, mittens, and a hat, and 2 very nice blankets. So I thought this was very sweet, a simple sweater with an embroidery on it. The embroidery on the pattern, she has like drawings of the embroidery, and then she points to areas. This should be the outline stitch. This should be a lazy daisy. This for a satin stitch. But you're on your own for putting together your embroidery. But I'm looking forward to doing that. Here's a sweet one. It's so delicate, I don't even know if you can see that the neck has a very sweet little, some of the pictures in here, I really love the book. I love the pictures, but sometimes they're not super clear. But can you see that sleeve? They've also done that on the neck. So that's a sweet one. That's called Lanita. I like the, there's a couple sweaters where she also has an adult pattern. So here's one called Together Apart that she's done for adults as well. I don't know, it's hard to really see that design, but can you see that? And I'll tell you, I looked at the chart, and it's just beginner friendly for sure. It is a very simple chart. So that's fun. There's a very textured vest, and I'm working on wheat. And you see that? Really sweet, very easy. It's bottom up. I'll tell you a little more about that in a minute. There is a blanket with a colorwork edging. Here's one of the cute colorwork sweaters. I think that would be so fun in the colors that I bought. Here is, I'm not showing you everything, but yeah, I think there's a couple pairs of socks. Now this one is called Catedral, And there's an adult version of this one, and there's been a make-along going on. She tells you how to do the collar, but it is optional. That little crocheted collar. And there is the design. And again, I don't think that is, it's really shouldn't be that challenging. So I don't know, but there are 4 charts. So let's see. There is also, here's one, Angel Trumpet. That little baby makes me want to laugh. She's so cute. Mittens with embroidery. And, oh, I absolutely love this blanket. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Whew. This, I definitely am going to be making this sweater. I just love the texture in that. And it's actually not cable, it's a faux cable. So that's fun. And let's see, I know there's one more thing in here. Oh yeah. There's this colorwork sweater. And I think, and another version of the colorwork, that same sweater is this, which I really like the blue one quite a bit. So it's really a fun book. I'm sure, you know, most of the time when you get a book like this, most of the time I don't make all the patterns. I have a bunch of books here, and I feel like I should go back because there's still so many things I'd like to make that I fell in love with long ago, and then other new things replace them, and then you don't make them. But I really would like to, I can really see for this one a number of sweaters I'd like to make. So let me show you. I am doing the wheat. Oh, one more thing I should mention. If you're interested in getting the book or you're on the fence, you could go on Ravelry and look up all of the patterns on Ravelry and see what you think. I'd say many of them are bottom up, but some are top down. So I think one of the colorwork sweaters is bottom up, one is top down. The one I'm working on is bottom up, not my happy place, actually. But, and I have loved working on it, but I screwed up the chart. And there was really no reason for it. I don't know what's going on with me, but it has a sweet little work here, but I forgot. And I've done this once before, and I always seem to do it when I'm copying out of a book. And I don't know what it is, but somehow the book doesn't show doesn't have as much marking of the repeat section on the chart. So instead of just doing the repeat section, I was doing the whole chart, which gave me a double of this when it should just be one. And I'm going to redo it. You might say, well, I mean, I did a good job on it. It's all very sweet. But the thing is, it's like on one sleeve, the double shows up right there. And then on the other sleeve, it's not there. So that's not going to work for me. But fortunately, I can start over without having to join for, it's past where I joined for sleeves, thank God. Ooh, and it's a baby sweater, but it is very, very sweet. You can see the yarn's a pleasure, and it's for, I'm doing size 2 for my granddaughter Ellie, who is a very slim and trim 2.5-year-old, but I think the 2 size will work great. I added another inch to the length and a little bit more length to the arms, so she'd have a little bit more room to grow. It's really hard without having the child, your own personal model in front of you to tell, but I'm going to see her in a couple weeks, and I'm hoping to have this finished, and then I can make some notes about size and everything. So anyway, that is a great pleasure, even despite the mistake, the silly mistake, and now I need to go back and get a marker and really mark the repeats so I don't do that again. I know better, plus I've talked to you about this before. I was doing it on a shawl, I think. Oh well. So anyway, as these books go, I think I'm going to make more of the patterns than I usually do. Higher percentage, pretty sure. However, for these yarns right here, I don't think I'm going to use the book. And the reason is one's a baby and the other, well, they're both still babies. One's not born and one's a baby. And what I hear from the moms is that when they're still doing tummy time, it is nice to have the buttons on the side. So I'm going to do, let's see, where did my picture go? Here we go. So one of them, maybe both of them, I will make the Sorgenfri Foldover jacket by Indiblomst. And this was one I made last summer out of 100% cotton. And the whole time it was a nice organic cotton, but boy, by the end of it, I really, really wished that I had been working with wool. So I'll enjoy using this. And I think, let's see, the gauge is 25 stitches for 4 inches or 10 centimeters. So that's pretty small. So I think I'll be doing a little bit of math because this says it's DK, but it's pretty sturdy yarn. It's not very airy. It's just super nice and comfortable, but I definitely want to knit it on bigger needles than recommended here for sure. So anyway, I want to mention this one again. She didn't have a Ravelry link when I first made it, but now she does, and I absolutely adore her edges. And I need to go back to the pattern and see why her edges are so nice, but they really, really are. You knit one. Yeah, I have to go back and figure out why her edges were so beautiful. And then she did a pearl I-cord bind off, which I'd never heard of, and it was just a gorgeous edge. So I think one of these I will do in like the 3 to 6 month size, and maybe the other one will be more like maybe a something between 9 to 12 months. Then she goes from 9 to 12 months, then to 18 to 24 months. So, yeah, I think 18 to 24 is going to be too big for the child in question. But anyway, so those are my two projects. I don't think, oh, I wanted to tell you a couple things. One is, the other couple weeks ago, one of my friends in my knitting group brought some yarn, a big bag of yarn she was hoping some of us would take, and I ended up taking this one. It's funny because it doesn't look, the camera is just popping out the tweed. It's really not that dramatic in real life. But anyway, it's kind of a fun yarn. My friend doesn't really like the crunchier yarn. I think she got it from her, from someone in the family who had passed away, and they bought it a long, long time ago. So they're 50 gram balls, 100% wool, and it looks like it's French, Dorothy tweed. I can't really tell too much more about it, but it looks fun. And even though I have all this gorgeous yarn over here, I got this and went, ooh, I'd like to cast that on right away. So that was really fun. And then I brought a bag of yarn just last Thursday to the group, and they took quite a bit of it. I reorganized back here. You can't tell, I'm sure, but I took almost everything out of there and put it all back. And the way I grouped it probably doesn't make any sense at all. I probably should organize it by weight, but the yarn's important to me in a different way than weight. So up at the top there next to the fabric, that's all the yarn that I've gotten at small batch farms and different, small places. And then all my wooliest wool is over on this this side right here. And I have my mohair all together. It turns out I have way more mohair than I thought. I have a little collection of my superwash that's like more like my Malabrigo. I still have some of those, a few other things. My cones are down below. Then I finished it and went, is this really how I should have organized it? But I've always had trouble categorizing things. It's, I don't know what that's all about. But anyway, I dug out some yarns, and I put some, there were some that needed to go with a nut, just be organized to be like with like. And that really helped a lot. And then having done all that, there is no excuse for buying any more yarn, but I did recently buy this because I wanted to knit one more summer top or shawl. I don't know why I always I really like to knit garments, but a nice shawl could really be fun. So there's an idea. I've thought about using this. Oh, and in my going through my clean out, I found this yarn. They're supposed to be the same dye lot, but boy, do they look different right now, don't they? Interesting. I used to wind by hand, so this is old enough that I wound this by hand, and the tag then became separate. So it's not in here. This is a ball, tight ball. And for quite a while, the tag kept I kept finding the tag, and I'd think, I need to hang on to that tag. But when I cleaned out, I could not find it. So, yeah, they're looking very, very different now, even though they're supposed to be the same. Anyway, it's really nice yarn. I think it's got some cashmere in here. It feels like a lace weight to me. So I'd love to make a shawl out of this. I think I'd love to have a shawl out of this. I've probably showed it to you before. So anyway, I think I'm going to look through my patterns and see. It would be nice to have it cast on, because as soon as this ranunculus is finished, I need to have something that I can just grab and take with me and knit. And this used to be my signature color right here. I loved it. More this one. But I think I'd have to hold these alternate skeins, because boy, they really look different. Anyway, that was all very fun, but I think I'm reaching the end of what I have to say. I just wanted to tell you about 2 books. One is, this was a really fun and quick read, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I really did whip through that one, really enjoyed it, very readable. It's about a woman who was a Hollywood icon, and she's telling the story of her life to somebody. She's a journalist. She's hand-picked, even though the journalist is less experienced, and she tells all the stories of how she came to be married to all these different men. But it's quite readable. The characters are pretty engaging. And I really did like it, even though normally I do not read about people in Hollywood too much. I wouldn't rule it out, but it's not where I'm inclined to go. But then I read a book that had a little more meat to it, called The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. And she is British Turkish, and the book takes place during the Cyprus-Turkish War, which I, turns out, didn't know anything about. You don't really learn too much about what they're fighting for, which maybe doesn't make any sense anyway, but it talks quite a bit about how it affected people. But even though it takes place during a war, it's not what you'd think. And it's not as nearly as gloomy as you'd think. In fact, it's very interesting, and there's some characters that you really find engaging and lovely. But the most fun character is the narrator, and that is a fig tree. So the fig tree is telling most of the story, and then a lot of the chapters then focus on one other character or another. But basically the beginning is there's 2 teenagers. One is a Greek Cypriot, and this all takes place, a lot of this takes place on the island of Cyprus. And then there's a Turkish Cypriot, and it's the war, during the war, and even before the war, the Turks didn't intermarry with the Greeks. And so that is a lot of the backdrop. But a huge amount of it is about the tree, and the fig tree talks about trees, and you'll learn quite a bit about trees from the tree point of view is very strong here. Let's say that. I really enjoyed it. A lot of it also takes place in London. So I don't think you could go wrong with that one. It's a Reese's Book Club, if that means anything to you. And a lot of writers I really liked recommended it, so that's why I picked it up. I got a Kindle to travel, and then as soon as I got home, I didn't read any Kindles, and this one I got as a library book. So I'm sure I'll resume with the Kindle again, but I do like those paper. I like the paper. August is birthday month for me and Dennis and my son, so that means parties, that means cake. So I'm hoping that the weather doesn't get too hot. It's supposed to be 99 degrees for my birthday, so we might be inside. We do have AC, but I try not to turn it on, but I definitely will not be holding back on birthday day. And maybe we go to the ocean sometime, and we are going to go up to Seattle on the 24th. So I might do one more episode before the 24th to show some of the baby knits, but we'll see, either that or after. Otherwise, I won't be able to show you my wheat cardigan. So we'll see about that. Maybe I'll do a short baby knits episode. I did get some wonderful, since I last did my regular podcast, I did get some great woolly fiber socializing. I had a wonderful time at one of the open shop days at Youthful Fiber Farms. That was wonderful. And then a friend of mine who owns a farm and raises sheep invited all her fiber friends, so we got to go out to the farm. I got to pet a sheep, talk to spinners and weavers, and even though most of us are on different paths, it's all fiber related, and it was very enjoyable. So thank you, dear friend, if you see this. So I think that is all I have to say. It's just getting too long here. So I'm going to wrap it up. I hope you're having a good summer, or I might have one or two people on the other hemisphere. I hope everybody is having a pleasant time and the weather isn't too bad and that you're really enjoying your making. So happy knitting. Bye-bye.